So today we're going to install my high steer knuckles on Maverick. But before I do, I thought I'd go over some upgrades that I've made to my vehicle, and you'll have to make to yours if you plan on installing them as well. So the purpose of a high steer knuckle is to get your steering out of the way, particularly the tie rod. The high steer knuckle will raise that up about 1.5 inches. If you look at my tie rod, I upgraded that to 1 ton about 3 months ago, and I've already got damage from where I've hit it while rock crawling. So we're going to raise that up. And in order to install the high steer knuckles, you're going to need to do a drag link flip, and that puts your drag link on top of the bracket instead underneath. And then you're going to need a raised track bar bracket to keep your track bar in line with your drag link. Otherwise you're going to have problems with bump steer. Let's go ahead and get started. Before I start to take anything apart, I spray everything with lubricant because we live in the north and everything has a tendency to get rusty. So this just helps make things a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and get started, but first I'm going to pull off the caliper bracket in the rotor. You're going to need a 21mm socket to do that. So your caliper bracket has 2 bolts, and when you go to reassemble this, you want to make sure that they're really tight because they have a tendency to walk out. Now that I've got my calipers and my rotors off, I'm going to go ahead and remove my ABS sensor. When you're taking your brakes off, this is a good time to go ahead and check them over and make sure there's nothing that you need to be replaced. Looking at mine, I found that it's time to replace my pads. So you're going to need a 3/16 Allen to remove this sensor. Our next step is going to be to remove the 3 bolts that hold the hub assembly in there. You're going to need a 1/2 inch socket. Make sure it's a 12 point to remove those bolts. Sometimes these bolts can be a little stubborn, so we have to heat them up with some MAP gas to get them to come out. Now with this 35mm socket, I'm going to go ahead and remove the axle nut. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this back bolt in, run it in about 3 or 4 threads, and then we're going to use a junk socket to remove this bearing using the power steering. We'll go ahead and show you that now.
So what I'm doing here is taking a chisel and making a little divot in that C for the socket to be able to rest in, and then just hold that socket in place up against that C and the bolt while someone turns the power steering with the steering inside with the car running, and it just pushes right out.
So now it's time to go ahead and remove our tie rod and our drag link. First I've got to pull these cotter pins, which I should really get a screwdriver for. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove my drag link and my tie rod. I'm going to use a 21mm socket for that. Now that the steering's out of the way, that'll give us access to our nuts for the ball joints. You're going to need a 22mm. Wow. That one came off fast. Alright, we're going to go ahead and remove the nut on the lower ball joint. I found a 1 1/8 socket fits it best. We're going to go ahead and knock the knuckle loose, but I left the nut on the upper ball joint to keep it from falling on my toes. So it took me a minute, but I was able to get it off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the nut from the upper ball joint so I can pull the knuckle off. Look here, this is the tie rod mounting bracket, and if you look at the new knuckle, it's up higher. It's been raised up 1.5 inches. And if you look at it this way, see how these are separated and this is together? That makes it stronger. They're being reinforced because they're together. So my friend Melissa stopped by. She's going to help me in the garage today. Hey there. Here you go. Put the new knuckle on. We're going to go ahead and put some anti-seize on the ball joints. Be careful not to get any on the threads. That's good. Wonderful. So if you look at this knuckle matches the passenger side knuckle, and that's because they're made for a left-hand drive or a right-hand drive vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and put our lower nut on. Don't trust that because I couldn't get it to feed. There you go. There you go. So we got our new high steer knuckles in, and we're going to go ahead and put the Jeep back together the way we took it apart. You guys have a great day.
So basically we didn't want to bore you guys with watching that process in reverse, but I do want to show you this is a pretty good example of some of the rock crawls we do see when we go off-roading. You'll see some of these rocks have quite a bit of rash on them from tie rod bars, differentials, things like that. Basically anything that's low can hinder you in a rock crawl. So we have had this Jeep on 2 trips now since this install, and we've been real happy with the fact that bar is raised up and it's not striking rocks like it used to nearly as bad. The knuckles are definitely stronger, and we're looking forward to having those for a lot of years out of us. I think the price point with the Rancho setup is pretty fair as well, so I would definitely recommend it, and looking forward to what it has to offer us over the next few years. Having hopefully have that tie rod bar last a whole lot longer this way. So thanks for hanging out and watching this video all the way through to this point, and just pray that you guys have a blessed year, and keep on jeeping, and we'll see you on the trail.